Welcome to the Pulsating Biology, and in today's video we're going to talk about the transport in humans, a very important topic, that is the human heart. When you talk about the human heart, we've already discussed it in the previous videos, but now we're going to talk about the human heart in a much more detail to understand what are the functions of human heart and what its size and where it is located. When you talk about the size of the human heart, you need to understand the overall structures of the human heart. So in human beings, what happens is that the heart is being almost the size of their clenched fist. When you talk about the clenched fist, it means like this palm area. When you talk about the size of the heart, you need to understand that it is just the size of your fist. So when you're going to write about the size of a human heart, you're going to say that it's sized of a clenched fist. You can say the palm or whenever you closes your hand. This is the clenched fist when you talk about the human heart size. Next, where is it located? When you talk about the location of the heart, it lies in the thorax behind the chest bone and between the two lungs. So behind the chest bone, and also between the two lungs. Next, when you talk about the surrounding of the heart, the whole heart is surrounded by a big bag that is called as the pericardium. This pericardium surrounds the heart and protects it from any kind of the injury. It is made up of two layers of the membrane, the inner membrane and the outer membrane. The inner membrane and the other one is termed as the outer membrane, that is on the outer side, and both of them have different functions. When you talk about the inner membrane, that basically is in contact with the tissue making up the heart. Between these two, there is a presence of a material, or you can say a pericardial substance, that basically reduces the friction, that is termed as the pericardium fluid. That is the pericardial fluid that provides the friction and avoid any kind of the resistance between them. Now, let's talk about the chambers of the heart. The heart is divided into four chambers, two left chambers and two right chambers. The left chambers are termed as the left atrium, that is the upper side of the heart, and the left ventricle, that is the lower side of the heart, and this ventricle basically supplies the blood to the entire heart. When you talk about the right one is termed similar manner, that is the right atrium and the right ventricle. Before you understand the human heart in a much more detail, have a look at this rough diagram. This will help you understand the human heart in a more detail. I'm going to show you another diagram from your book, but first let's understand what are the structures that are present in the human heart. When you talk about the human heart, this is what the human heart looks like, and it consists of four chambers. Let's learn each of them in a more detail. This is the left side of the heart and this is the right side of the heart. Please do understand that the camera is virtual, so whatever is your right, please consider that as your right. Alright, so this is the right atrium where the blood enters, and this is the left atrium. The left and the right atrium are basically on the upper side of the heart. When you talk about the lower side of the heart, we have the other two chambers, that is the right ventricle. This part is termed as the right ventricle and this part is termed as the left ventricle. Alright, what divides the right side and the left side of the heart? That is this line you see in between, that is termed as the septum. This septum divides the left side and the right side of the heart. Let's discuss how the working of heart basically takes place. When you talk about the working of the heart, you need to understand that the entire working starts from the right atrium, where the blood enters to the superior vena cava. This superior vena cava brings the blood from the body. And at the lower side, we say is basically the inferior vena cava present. But first we're going to talk about the superior vena cava. Superior vena cava brings the blood from the body and basically dips it into the right atrium. Between the right atrium and the right ventricle, there is a valve present that is termed as the tricuspid valve. This tricuspid valve is present between the two chambers and it prevents from the backflow of the blood. When you talk about the left side of the heart, there is also a valve present between the left atrium and the left ventricle. That valve is termed as the mitral valve, and it has a similar function, that is to prevent the backflow of the blood. This is the diagram from your book which will help you understand human heart in a more detail. This is the right atrium. This is the left atrium, this is the right ventricle, and this is the left ventricle. The blood enters through the superior vena cava from the body into the right atrium. From the right atrium, it enters into the right ventricle through a wall that is known as the tricuspid wall. The right side and the left side is separated by this membrane, which you see, that is termed as the septum. Once the blood is transported from this blue color, this is the pulmonary artery that takes the blood away from the heart. Artery, A for being away. That takes the blood away from the heart. This means that it takes the blood to the lungs. From the lungs, the blood is brought back to the left atrium. From the left atrium, it enters into the left ventricle through a wall that is known as the bicuspid or a mitral valve. This valve prevents the backflow of the blood. From the left ventricle, the blood is transported to the entire body. The red color indicates that it is an oxygenated blood, as the left side of the heart receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs. Whereas the blue side indicates the deoxygenated blood, as the deoxygenated blood is received from the body.